My second guest is Tony Price with Gold Star Riders, and their mission is the Gold Star Ride Foundation will actively support, comfort, and provide education benefits to Gold Star families throughout the United States, and will provide these things directly with personal visits via motorcycle, and they support those other organizations that work to assist in the same activities. So I'm hoping this is Tony, so let's see if we got him. Tony, is that you?
Hi, this is me.
Oh,
can you hear me
awesome.
okay, Donna?
I was kind of panicking. I was watching the countdown on my my studio board, and I'm going, he's supposed to call in at 7:45, I think.
Well,
so I thought maybe I might miss you.
Well, let me, I just was listening to you talk to Karen so much. I didn't know that you had a 15-minute delay. So I just waited till the last minute when you got done with talking with Karen.
You are awesome.
And what a wonderful story.
And people? Oh,
that was really neat. Yeah.
Yeah, you and Karen need to connect at some point because they, they bring the wreaths down on the trucks and bring them to Arlington, and obviously Rolling Thunder shows up, and you guys, your group needs to come on down at some point because I really think that you would connect with her in such an amazing way, and them putting the dog tags on the trees and all the wonderful things they do would be a great combination with what you do as well. So, Tony, I
am looking forward to meeting Karen.
What's that?
I said I am looking forward to meeting Karen. I knew about Wreaths Across America, and we are planning to take part of our ride is going to go through Maine. So now that I've heard that accent, I could probably figure out where exactly in Maine she lives, and we can schedule a visit. I really do hope that our paths can cross when we're out there. Now,
let me know, and I'll get you in touch with her before you guys get there.
Well, I appreciate that because at the end of the day,
let's tell everybody about Gold Star Riders. Let's talk about the organization.
Well, the Gold Star Ride Foundation is kind of a relatively new organization, but it's an activity that I've been involved in for about 6 or 7 years now, where we get a group of people on motorcycles, and you got to really conjure up the image here. You put 50 people on a motorcycle, and you're all going to go ride down the highway together. Well, most of them are going to be wearing leather from head to toe, and you're going to see all different variations of helmets and bandanas and sunglasses and tattoos and everything that you've ever seen in the movies about people who ride motorcycles. They all kind of get together, and then you've got some other ones that are, you've got a couple grandparents riding three-wheeled motorcycles. They're pulling up the end of the line and stuff. But, just imagine you're going to a dead-end street, a cul-de-sac, and there's the house at the end of the street is the one that you're going to visit. Well, everybody just kind of parades in, and they ride staggered or two abreast, and it takes 10 minutes to fill the cul-de-sac with all these motorcycles and all of this leather, and you can smell the fuel and the exhaust and the leather and the smoke and everything that goes along with it, and then everything kind of calms down as everybody parks their motorcycles, and they all walk into somebody's front yard, and we get to hear a story of a life that was sacrificed for everybody to have the freedom to ride motorcycles in the first place.
Right.
So I've been doing it with this group here in Minnesota for several years. I think I personally have visited in Minnesota somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 or 30 families, Gold Star families here in Minnesota. And the reality of the story is, a year ago I went to the board of directors and I said, this is too big for Minnesota. The rest of the country needs to know what we're doing. I would like to volunteer to ride across the country for you. And they said, well, no, we're too busy. We can't. We're lucky we can do it one weekend a year. And I said, well, I'm a disabled vet, and it's pretty hard for me to find a steady job anyway, so I've got the time, and I've got the talent. I can do it. And the Gold Star Ride Foundation was born out of that. And actually, if you don't mind me saying so, I'll just spend 5 seconds complaining about my life, and then we'll move on to everything else. The disability I came home with, I served in the Navy, and I came home as a disabled vet, and the disability that I have doesn't allow me to do too many things. I can sit in a chair for about 45 minutes. I can stand for about 5 minutes. I can't do very much. But one thing I can do, now that I have the right motorcycle, is I can sit on it for a long time. And I actually proved that last year when I rode from New Orleans to Minneapolis.
Wow.
The trip that that was a 1,265-mile trip, and I did it in 30 hours. And that was also part of the catalyst of, how I decided that the Gold Star Ride Foundation was something that was going to go nationally to visit Gold Star families. And I don't want to take any of the emphasis away from why we're doing it while I tell, how we got going on it. But
right.
Yeah, that was That was a trip I had to make. I purchased the motorcycle in New Orleans, and I had to drive it home to Minneapolis, which is where my home is. And
Right.
It was a 1,265-mile trip, and I started riding at 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. I stopped at dark somewhere south of Memphis and went into a hotel, and I got out when the sun was coming up in the morning, and I parked it in my driveway at 11:30 that night.
Wow.
If I can do that, then I can ride. That was 1,265 miles. I can ride an average of 380 miles a day. That's what our average is for the map that we have planned out to go visit 100 Gold Star families in 49 states this summer. Has an average of 381 miles a day. I think it's 381 miles a day is the average.
Wow.
So after doing what I did last year, I'm pretty sure we can do 350 or 381 miles a day.
When is that going to start?
July 3rd.
Okay.
July 3rd
and you
this
guys
year.
still need donations, though, to help fund this. And you actually have a camera crew that's going to follow you?
Yeah, actually, a production company that makes movies out in, I like to say Hollyweird, but a production company from Hollywood, Los Angeles, California, reached out to us and volunteered most of their services to make a documentary movie out of what we're doing. We thought that would be a great idea, so they're going to be following us around the whole country for the whole trip. We're pretty excited about that.
Really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. And I can't wait to see it when it's all done and put together. Do you have any stories that stand out in your mind? When you're visiting these families, I know they all touch you in some way or another. Is there any one that just stands out the most that you can share with us?
I could probably share several of them. The stories that I hear, first of all, very rarely are they at all similar to any of the other stories. Every one of them is so incredibly unique. And actually, in listening to Karen talk there right at the end of your interview with her, she mentioned her 9-year-old grandson. Was his name Miles? Was that it?
Yes.
And apparently Miles has been saying that he wants to be a Marine since he could talk. And it reminded me of one of the stories that I've come to learn is there's a fellow out on the West Coast, and his son said the same thing. I'm going to be a Marine. From the 3 or 4 years old, the first time he could pronounce the word Marine, he said, I'm going to be a Marine. And he was as enthusiastic as you can possibly be about being a Marine. The short story here is that with the fatality in Iraq, and after the funeral, the stress that this added to his parents' life was more than the marriage could stand. And it ended, their marriage ended in a divorce, and it was one of those really bitter, horrible divorces that you only read about in books, where they can't even see each other in a grocery store because they'll start throwing cans at each other and stuff like that. Just really, really, a really, really bad scenario. Anyway, their son died, I believe it was about 11 years ago, 2006, that their son was killed. And the divorce was almost immediate. And several years later, they each found a new partner, and both of them got remarried. And the ex-wife's new husband was a motorcycle enthusiast. And there was a group just like the one that I told you about before, where we all pull into the ones here in Minnesota. It was just like that. She ended up on a ride visiting other Gold Star families, not knowing that's what she was going to do for the weekend. So she went out, and her and her new husband visited 6 or 7 Gold Star families, got to know them personally, and came to an understanding that she didn't have the ability to find before. And when they got home from that 2-day trip, she called her ex-husband for the first time in 5 or 6 years, and they spent 3 hours on the phone. And his name is Don, and Don related the story to me. He said they talked for 3 hours on the phone, and they were in tears, and they were crying, and they have since then become incredibly close friends. And now the two couples, because he's remarried and she's remarried, they all get on their motorcycles and they go ride together. And they're all 4 of them now are best friends, and they found a way to cope through personal visits on a motorcycle.
Wow.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways that a group of strangers can change your life. And that's basically what we are. We're a group of strangers. Now, when we roll out of here on July 3rd, we're going to be crossing the St. Croix River from St. Paul area into Wisconsin, assuming that everybody listening doesn't know the geography as well as I do since I live here. So we're going to ride into Wisconsin, and within an hour, we're going to be visiting Gold Star families. And when we pull in there, we've already got 50 motorcycles signed up to come with us. And by the way, this is a 20,000-mile ride. It's actually more than 20,000 miles. And we know that there's nobody else that can take 2 months off work and ride their motorcycle for 20,000 or more miles. So we set it up that every time we stop, if that's as far as you can go, then you can stop riding with us and you can turn around and go home. And if that's where you can join us, then you start riding with us right there. Unlike other motorcycle events, there's no cost to the riders. There's no cost to the passengers. The only requirement that we have is that you follow the local laws. You pay for your own gas, and you just ride responsibly. Just join us when you can and fall out when you have to. But when we get into Wisconsin, when we get there and we go visit that family, the family that we visit, well, they're going to know who I am because I'm going to have some conversation with them before we get there. But everybody else in our group, and right now that's a group of 50. Between now and July 1st, that number might increase by any amount. I wouldn't be surprised if there were 150. I've done rides like this where the group got as big as 150 motorcycles. And when 150 motorcycles pull into your yard and you're going, oh, well, I know that guy, but the rest of them are all strangers. They're strangers when we pull in, and it's kind of an eerie feeling if you've never experienced it before. But everybody is extraordinarily impacted by the entire experience. The families that we visit are changed forever. And the people who go visit those families are also changed forever. Because just like you were talking with Karen earlier, you get to know the people. And if you get to know the people, all of the fear and reasons not to be friends with people, all that stuff just kind of drips away when you take the time to get to know some people. And I'm looking forward to getting to know strangers all across the country.
Well, I'm hoping that what you'll do is you'll be updating on Facebook, I hope, and then maybe when you get to a certain location, we can have you back on the show again and talk about what's been happening along the ride. I would love that. I think it would be really cool. Maybe once a month or whatever it's taking you, once a week or something, come on and give us like a 10 or 15-minute breakdown of what you've been doing and who you've met and what's going on along the way.
Well, I think I'd like to do that very much. I don't know how available I'm going to be once we get on the road.
Well, I'll contact you, and you can just let me know when you're available, and come on and give everybody an update. So give everybody the website.
Well, the website is really simple, goldstarride.org. And everything is there. It's all one word. There's no spaces or underscores or anything. It's just goldstarride.org. Our phone number is listed there. Our email is there. You can contact us that way. There's donate buttons on every page. And we do need to receive more donations because, well, it's our intention to give all that money to the families that we go visit, specifically by way of education funds. So we're planning to set up education accounts for anybody in the family to use that money to go back to school or to continue their education. And the reason that we set that up, if I can segue into another story real quick.
Sure.
The reason that we set that up is one of the very first Gold Star families that I ever met. And allow me to admit that I am not a member of a Gold Star family myself. I'm a disabled vet, but I'm not a member of a Gold Star family. The very first one that I met was, we had all these people in the yard, and out of the house comes this young girl, in my opinion, a young girl. Of course, I remember guys coming home from Vietnam, so I see pictures of you, Donna, and you're a young girl. So anyway,
not really,
she's about.
I'm a grandma.
Well, this young girl comes out of the house, and she's holding an infant in one hand, and she's got a toddler clinging to her knee, and she's all of about 21 years old. A horrific story. Her husband went off with his best friend. They decided they were going to go together, and they joined the Army together. And the short story is her husband saw his best friend get killed in Iraq. Well, he was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and they put him in a VA hospital 1,000 miles away. Well, after 60 days in the VA hospital, they came to him and they said, well, there's nothing more we can do for you. So they turned him loose on the street. And 5 days later, he was dead. Now, the military says that's suicide. And allow me to drop a name here. A friend of mine is a country music singer named Rocky Lynn. Rocky Lynn is the guy who said this to me. And Rocky Lynn is a paratrooper himself. He's a veteran, and he's an incredible human being. Top 4 people I've ever known in my lifetime. But Rocky said, so Rocky said of that situation, he said that wasn't a suicide. That was a Taliban sniper's bullet from 7,000 miles away. So that's So here I am standing in this group of people, and I'm meeting this 21-year-old mother, this 21-year-old widow, and I'm going, well, she's really stuck. I mean, she's 21. She's without her partner. She's got to take care of two little kids, and she's got to try to figure out a way to earn an income, and probably doesn't have, she would benefit from having a college degree, as everybody who's 21 would benefit from having a college degree. So we set up our Gold Star Ride Foundations. We would have a $10,000 education fund for all of the Gold Star families, just for people like that young lady there that I just shared a story with, so they can get just a step in the right direction. We can't give it to them, and nobody wants it to be given to them anyway. These families are incredibly humble, and they don't want a handout, and then they don't ask for any help, and they just say, well, this is just what I got. So we can't actually give them everything. I can't write them a check for $10 million and say, I hope this lasts for the rest of your life. Yeah. We can give you $10,000 because we know college is expensive, and this will take you one step in the right direction.
Right. Well, you guys are doing great things, and I can't wait to get updates when you start this ride July 3rd. And everybody who's listening, please remember they still need donations to help these families, and they're going all across the United States. So it's really important to please check out goldstarride.org. It's super important. I really want them to get the help they need because they are doing great things for people. Tony, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad you got to get the word out there about your organization. And keep me updated on Facebook, because I really do want to have you on and get updated as you trek across the United States visiting these Gold Star families. And I want to thank you for your service as well.
Well, you're welcome. And I'll do everything I can to keep you updated.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Tony. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.